Self-judgment. Oh my God, I'm a pro at this. Episode 90-something. Conscious Endeavors. Self-judgment. I self-judge myself so much that I push other people away from me because, let's pay attention to the mirror reflection. I'm so judgmental of myself, and I push myself so hard that I think that, after 40 years, I'm learning that I'm making other people feel like they're not good enough. Well, I'm not trying to judge myself, and I'm not trying to create a cop-out, but I strongly believe that I give myself so much constructive criticism and that I push myself so much that I'm so hard on myself that it comes off as judgment. But I always try to find what I can fix within myself, and that started becoming a mirrored reflection outside of myself. But we as humans, we keep forgetting and we keep making mistakes. So do I. I make mistakes daily, probably. So do you. And so we forget, we forget that the self-judgment inside, that we forget how we talk to ourselves. That voice in your head that keeps talking? Well, if it's negative, if it's lower vibrational frequency, there's something going on within you, and you got to stop talking bad about yourself. For my whole life, I've always seen a reflection outside of myself that I wasn't good enough. A lot of people tell me I'm not good enough. Well, the reason I'm seeing that mirrored reflection now, I'm starting to understand. And all of the challenges and adverse situations in your life come to this shit. This is what you learn. You learn that everything outside of yourself is just a mirrored reflection of what's going on inside here, in your mind and in your heart. Nikola Tesla said that our minds and our bodies are just receivers and projectors. That's a Nikola Tesla teaching. So whatever we receive and project outward, but I'm going to take it further. And Nikola said our minds, our bodies, and Nikola and Albert Einstein both said that our bodies, our mind, and minds are receivers and projectors. But I'm going to take it further and say that we are also magnets. We are also mirrors. And we are also energy. We are energy, we are magnets, and we are mirrors, as well as projectors and receivers. Janusz, Conscious Endeavors. So, everything that we see outside of ourselves is a mirrored reflection of what's going on inside of us, how we think. The ancient Egyptian god Thoth said, I always thought that it was pronounced Thoth, but it's actually pronounced thought, like a mental. The universe is mental, the ancient Egyptian god Thoth said. Everything is mental. We project and we receive information electromagnetically. So everything that we think in our minds, if we judge ourselves too harshly, and I admit that I do sometimes, then it's going to project outward. We're going to project that. There's a psychological term called projection. And a lot of people, if they don't know what they're doing, they project how they are to other people. Everyone does it until you catch yourself doing it. And then you're like, oh, and then you realize you do it, and then you have to stop yourself. But you have to become conscious of that before you can stop it. Well, because of my own self-judgment, because I always said that I sucked at guitar. I wasn't good enough, I never think I'm good enough at guitar. I always think I could be better at guitar. And I always force and I push myself like, man, I'm not good enough. I should be better than I am. I should have started earlier. I started at age 13 and I should have started at like age 5. Maybe I would be a better guitar player by now. Wow, that's a lot of pressure. You can't give yourself that kind of pressure in life. I shoulda, coulda, woulda. Man who thinks in the past is depressed. Man who thinks in the future is anxious. If you think too much in the future, you have too much anxiety. If you think too much in the past, you have depression. The universe is trying to tell you to focus on the current moment. What's happening right now? Bring your mind to what's happening right now. Through these talks, I actually learn and I expand my consciousness and awareness, because I get to put to our vocabulary in words how I'm thinking and what I'm thinking about, and I actually expand my awareness, and I get downloads. I get these thoughts. And then what happens is be conscious not to overthink, but I'm an overthinker. Try not to give yourself too much anxiety. Try not to think too much. What happens is you start to see the mirror. Look outside of yourself. What are you seeing? How are you seeing people acting towards you? Whatever you're seeing in your reality, more than likely, whatever you're seeing bouncing off of you, that's you. You're also that. Because if it triggers you, then it also resides within you. If something triggers you, it also resides within you. So if you're triggered because somebody has a communication issue, you too have a communication issue. Work on that. If you see that people don't want to listen to you, pay attention to the mirrored reflection. What's happening? If people aren't listening to you, you're probably not listening to others. Pay attention to the mirrored reflection. So, everything that exists within is going to reflect outside as well. So if you want to change your reality, and if you don't like your life, if you hate your life, then change what's in here and in here. I love my life, but I got hang-ups just like everybody else. I'm not perfect, I'm not exempt, of, I got to deal with my own stuff. You know what I mean? Just like everybody else. I'm just one individual unit of consciousness that's aware of my consciousness, and I like talking about consciousness. So, we're talking about self-judgment today. And I keep talking about how and why things happen, but let's go back to the basis and foundation. Is if everything that you feel and believe within yourself, you create your reality that way. Okay? So whatever you believe and feel inside of yourself, if you believe that life is going to be a certain way, life is going to be that way for you. If you believe that you're going to struggle throughout life, you're going to struggle. If you believe that you're going to live in heaven, well, maybe you'll create that for yourself. So stop self-judgment. Stop pushing and forcing yourself. Don't be so hard on yourself. I'll teach from my experience only. I can only speak from my experience. I can't tell his history. I can't tell his story, but I can tell my story. Shouldn't be called his story. It should be my story. So, how do you break the paradigm of self-judgment? You have to become aware of it. That's 60% of the battle. And then you have to make sure that you don't slip of the tongue. That's what I'm trying to do. So I'm looking inward, and I'm healing with love, with communication. I'm trying my best. And I think I do a good job. I think I do a very good job with communication. But I do understand that sometimes I could be too harsh on myself and my craft and what I do. I could be too harsh. And I think that that's reflecting outward. So how do you stop that negative paradigm? You created a program for yourself. It's a mental program. Joe Dispenza talks a lot about mental programs. You have to consciously be aware of the issue, and you have to love yourself more. And you have to be conscious of the paradigm so you know how to change it. I think that's the key. You're never going to be able to fix a problem in the same vibrational frequency that the problem was created, Albert Einstein said, among others. So that's why you have to heal with love, with high vibrational frequency. What are you talking about, Jonathan? Like, what are you talking about love for? Well, if love makes you uncomfortable, then you have a self-love issue. You have to love yourself more. The reason I mention love and fear is because love is the highest vibrational frequency in our reality, and fear is the lowest vibrational frequency in our reality. So when you're in an argument, that's fear. When you're fighting with your loved ones or co-workers or family, that's fear. And then love is the opposite. So you can come back and talk and say, have a talk, try to smooth things over. But you're never, and that's when you're going to be able to talk and have the communication. But you're never going to be able to fix a problem in the same frequency that it was created. Albert Einstein. So that's why you always got to go back to love. You got to lead with love. You got to lead with the higher frequency. Anger is asking for compassion. Anger is asking for forgiveness. Anger is asking for compassion. Anger is asking for change. Anger is depression revisited. So if you have temper issues and anger issues, it means you got a lack of compassion and love for yourself. You can't point the finger outward and say, oh, everybody else doesn't love me. Oh, they don't love me. Oh, that horse right there, Crush. I can't say Crush don't love me. Crush loves me. He chases me all the time when he sees me. I can't say Crush doesn't love me. I could just say I don't love me. Why? Because everything on the internal reflection is also on the external reflection. Everything on the outside is a mirror of what's inside. So I can't say that Crush, the horse, don't love me. I can only say I don't love me. Meditate on that. Conscious endeavors. Have a good day.